Today, I'm going to do a comparison of the Kyle Rittenhouse and Ahmed Arbery case. Now, I'm not going to compare every aspect of it, but there's an important intersection of self-defense law that is relevant to both of these cases, and they impact each case in some similar ways, but also in some different ways. And in the different ways that they impact it, it could actually lead to different outcomes. Thank you everybody for tuning in. My name is Joe Pometto. This is Joe the Lawyer. On this show, I analyze legal news, legal concept, and give legal tips and advice. If you like my content, please like, subscribe, comment, and share. It's a free way to support this show. I'm almost monetized, so please like, subscribe, comment, and share. Get me to monetization. I just need some more viewer hours and I'll be there. Now, before we jump in, everybody raise your cup, your glass in the air. We do a little ritual here. It's called the same time sip. Today, nothing fancy. Pepsi Zero. Cheers with me. Okay, so let's do a quick introduction, right? I think most people are very familiar with the Kyle Rittenhouse case. Last summer in a small Wisconsin town of Kenosha, there were riots and protests occurring. Kyle Rittenhouse had arrived on the scene with an AR-15 to help protect some businesses. He then had multiple interactions with a series of individuals where he ended up shooting 3 individuals and killing 2 of them. Now, the facts tend to show that these individuals were aggressors and perhaps attacking Mr. Rittenhouse, though ultimately it's up to the jury, who is currently deliberating, to decide. Then let's talk a little bit about the Ahmed Arbery case. Ahmed Arbery case involved a father and a son, adult combo. I believe the son's name is Travis McMichael, driving along their truck, and they saw a young black male jogging along a road. It's relevant that McMichael, the father and son combo, were white individuals, and they're driving along the road. They see this black individual jogging. They attempt to stop him and make a citizen's arrest on the basis that they believed that he had possibly committed some burglaries that were reported in the area. After they attempted to stop him, an argument and struggle ensued where Mr. McMichael ended up shooting and killing Ahmed Arbery. So those are the facts. Fairly different, but the way the law impacts them is similar in some instances, but also different in some instances. The main theory that I want to focus on here is self-defense, but more so how a person can lose the right of self-defense. The prosecutor prosecutor Binger in the Rittenhouse case stated that Mr. Rittenhouse lost his right to self-defense when he arrived on the scene with the AR-15. He's actually referencing a legal theory there. So let's dive into that legal theory. And this is taken from a law firm website. I thought it was just a nice, concise summary, a couple sentences. But if you see here in the middle, what if it isn't clear who started a fight? If an argument escalates to violence, it may not be clear who started the fight. And this is the very important sentence. If you initiated or escalated the violence, then you may lose your right to self-defense, but it doesn't stop there. However, if you attempt to withdraw from the fight and are attacked, your right to self-defense again reasserts itself. For example, if you get into an argument and shove someone earlier in the day, but leave and are attacked later, you have the right to use self-defense. So that's the important doctrine that I want to speak about today, right? Self-defense, and I'm going to do the Cliff's Notes version here, applies when a person can use reasonable and or deadly force to defend themselves. That requires them to be in a situation where an initiator or an attacker is using a high level of force against them. So you obviously can't just use deadly force or force on someone without a reason. But if there's an attacker who comes at you first, you are allowed to use a reasonable degree of force in order to stop them, and you are allowed to use deadly force if it is deemed that that deadly force was reasonable and necessary to protect the life of yourself and or to protect the life of others. And so on its face, the Kyle Rittenhouse situation really looks like one of self-defense, right? Because the first individual came after him, yelled at him that he was going to kill him, and then allegedly lunged at his gun, and Rittenhouse shot him and killed him. Then he was attacked by a group of people further down the road. One of them hit him with a skateboard, and one pointed a gun at Mr. Rittenhouse, and he shot both of them, killed one of those individuals. Sounds like situations where the attackers initiated a level of force that would call for deadly force to be used against him. However, when you take this doctrine, and I'll call it the initiate or escalate doctrine, into account, it changes the analysis a bit. So you can lose the right to self-defense under this initiate or escalate doctrine if you are perceived to be the person who initiated the violence or started the violence. The question is, did Rittenhouse initiate or start it? Now, I think Prosecutor Binger sort of was a bit too brief here when he said, oh, just arriving at the scene with a gun is enough to apply this doctrine to Rittenhouse and have him lose his right of self-defense. I disagree with that. As we saw, the illegal gun charge that Mr. Rittenhouse faced was dismissed by the judge, apparently because in Wisconsin it only applies to short-barreled weapons, and this was a long-barreled rifle that Rittenhouse was carrying. Therefore, he was not breaking the law in that instance. So he was on the scene in a lawful manner, using a weapon or possessing a weapon in a lawful manner. Now you have to look at each interaction and say, did Rittenhouse initiate those? Was he the more dangerous person from the beginning? And I think that the facts would say that no, that isn't the case if you look hard at how everything occurred. So this initiate or escalate doctrine, it's being used by the prosecution because it can disarm self-defense. Again, if you're the person that started the fight, you will not have the right to defend yourself. And I'm going to get a little more into this doctrine in a minute. But what about the Ahmed Arbery case? Now, the Ahmed Arbery case is more interesting, okay? Because the father and son, the white father and son combo, the McMichaels, I believe, they initiated this situation much more so than Kyle Rittenhouse initiated the situation he found himself in. So, the two individuals are driving on their truck. They see Ahmed Arbery on the side of the road. They try to stop him. They try to enact a citizen's arrest. Now, if you take citizen's arrest out of the picture, take that out of the picture. You have these two men who stop a man on the road. They have weapons, pointing them at him, telling the man to come with them. That, I think, would say fairly clearly that they're the ones initiating it, and Mr. Arbery would have the right to resist at that point. And then if he resists and the weapon is involved and one of these two individuals who started the situation fired their gun and killed Mr. Arbery, the doctrine of initiate or escalate, would probably apply to them. And it would say, okay, that Arbery perhaps at a certain point in time grabs the weapon, But these individuals initiated the interaction without good cause or reason, right? They came at him with a gun. So it could be argued that Mr. Arbery was the one using self-defense when he was faced with two individuals with a gun. He tried to wrestle the gun from one of them, and this guy shot and killed him. Okay, they initiated it. So even if in the moment Mr. McMichaels feared that he would get his weapon, because they started the fray, the fight, the interaction, they would not be able to assert self-defense. That's a reasonable legal argument that could take down McMichaels. However, what may insulate them from that argument that I just made is the fact that they were engaging in a citizen's arrest. So you can see I have here highlighted Georgia along with other states, principally in the South. I don't know how true that is because a lot of states have citizens arrest laws. But anyway, expanded those laws to allow citizens to arrest someone they reasonably suspected of trying to escape from a felony. Now, if you read this article, it'll say those laws originally said that for a citizen to enact an arrest on someone, they had to have seen the crime be committed. And then the laws were expanded to say that the citizen didn't have to see the crime was committed. They just had to have a reasonable suspicion, reasonably suspect that the person was trying to escape from a felony. And if they reasonably suspected it, they could enact the citizen's arrest. And if you apply that law to the Arbery situation, it may insulate McMichaels from losing the right of self-defense. Because if they were acting in a lawful manner when they approached Mr. Arbery to enact a lawful citizen's arrest, if they were doing that lawfully, then it would not be viewed under the law that they were using the initiate or escalate doctrine, right? They would not be seen as the initial aggressors if they were attempting to do something that was legal and sanctioned under the law. So what would that come down to? I believe in this case, and now this law has been repealed since in Georgia. I don't know if they put something new in, but it's been repealed. But that would come, this case, the Arbery case, may really come down to whether or not the jury believes that the McMichaels, father and son, had a reasonable suspicion that Arbery had committed a felony. They didn't see it happen. I don't believe they saw it happen. I don't know all the facts of the Arbery case. They didn't see it happen. I believe they may have saw or heard that Arbery had entered a property and then left it, something along those lines, and there had been robberies in the area. That's the basis of their reasonable suspicion. Is that enough for them to initiate this contact and not lose the right of self-defense? If a jury believes it was reasonable, what they did, their belief to enact the citizen's arrest was reasonable, then likely he will be acquitted as well. And I say as well because I believe under the facts and the law that we see that Rittenhouse will be acquitted also. I will say I made a prediction earlier that Rittenhouse would be convicted of the gun charge. I did not fully understand all the law on the gun charge. So after seeing and hearing all the law, I only have so much time to prepare for these videos. And that charge was dismissed. Obviously, he won't be convicted of it. And I believe he will be acquitted of all charges. But of course, I could very well be wrong. I also believe, and I don't know the facts of the Arbery case as well, but I do think under that citizen's arrest law that the Arbery actors will likely also be acquitted. However, I feel a little less confident in that choice only because I don't know all the facts as well. But I'm still gonna make a call because what the heck, put yourself out there. You know what I mean? So I just wanted to really dig into that. You know, the law of self-defense can be fascinating in that way because you can literally, and I've read court opinions like this where two individuals individual A punches individual B punches back. They punch each other several times. One of them starts to walk away, and then the other guy comes at them literally seconds later. So reading this, they talk about, oh, you shoved someone earlier in the day. No, literally seconds can play into this doctrine. So person A starts a fight with person B, is pounding them. They started the fight. They don't have any right to self-defense. The fight has stopped for, person B's on the ground, all bloody. Person A, who started the fight, starts to walk away, goes upstairs in the house, and then person B runs up after them with a knife. And person A turns around and shoots them. They likely have regained the right to self-defense, even though in that original transaction they didn't have it, because they started the fight, but the fight had ended and he was walking away. Then seconds later, the person comes at him with a knife and he turns around and shoots him. That could be a situation where he regained the right to self-defense, even though in the initial interaction when he was punching this guy, he didn't have it. B had the right to self-defense at that point, may have been justified in that moment to pull the knife out and defend himself, but not in the moments far after, even 30, 60, 90, 5 minutes after, okay, he wouldn't have that right. So self-defense can be very technical. The timeline is very important. The moments between when actions happen also play greatly into the result of the case. It really makes self-defense it's truly a fascinating area of law. Many states have different rules, different principles. I could go on and on about them, but I hope this gives you some further clarity. I think Binger's best argument against Rittenhouse is that he was being reckless from the beginning with this gun, therefore he can't assert the self-defense. That's his best argument. Absent that doctrine, in each moment, Rittenhouse looks very, very justified. I don't think that doctrine will be enough to convict, but you never know. As far as the Arbery case, the jury's interpretation of the citizen's arrest statute is going to be key. If the jury believes they were acting in a lawful citizen's arrest in that moment, they had a reasonable belief, then I think that both defendants in the Arbery case will also be acquitted. However, I will say either of these cases could go the other way. All right, just here to provide some legal opinion for you. I hope you enjoyed. My name is Joe Pometto. I'm Joe the lawyer. I do legal analysis. I make some legal jokes here on this channel. If you like my content, please support it by liking, subscribing, and sharing. I hope you enjoyed and you will tune in for more. Thank you very much.